Hi guys, welcome back to RhomanysRealm. I'm Romany, and for One Book July I'm doing things a little differently. That 4-hour live stream was a bit of a long one and I can't do that every week. I just can't. I love hanging out with you, but I can't do that. So I thought I would record a series of pre-recorded videos, and that will hopefully cut down on some of the live streamness. We can hope. We can hope. So I already showed you in my epic live stream, link down below, what I'm doing for One Book July and how, but I thought for those who didn't stick out the 4 hours, and honestly I don't blame you, I would just show you very quickly what I'm using, how I'm using it, and because I've been using the bullet journal method now for a week, because obviously as one of the One Book July team I have to kind of get a little bit ahead of you guys so that I've got content, otherwise you'd be waiting till the 7th to hear from me. So I started on the 24th. My philosophy for the bullet journal method is if it doesn't come from the book, it doesn't come from my own brain, or it doesn't come from an idea that Ryder Carroll himself put forward in some way, whether it be in an interview or one of his articles or whatever, I'm not using it. There's too much clutter out there, there's too much extra, and I don't want to be distracted by that. I want to take the pure bullet journal method, I want to stick to it rigidly, and then I want to develop it myself for what I think I'm going to need, so that it works for me. That's the plan. So I am being completely purist about this. For those who don't know, Ryder has said in several interviews he actually adheres to Stoicism and Stoic philosophy, which is something that I go by. I'm going to do a video on this, but to boil it down to its essence, you can only control how you react to things. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to control how I react to all the things that are going on around me and all the things I have to do on a daily basis and all the things, mostly squirrels, that are jumping around in my brain going, hey, look at me, hey, look at me, hey, look at me. It's too much and I've got to do something about it. I'm hoping this will help. And let's face it, if it can help somebody with ADHD be as zen as Ryder Carroll is, I'm all for it. It's got to help, right? It can't be any worse than what I'm dealing with at the moment. So I will be reading through the book through July. I've actually set it up, so I've already started reading through the book, and I will finish around about the 23rd. So, like I say, I'm a week ahead of you. If you are interested in seeing how I'm broken up the book, I have split it up into sections, and this is available on my Instagram. It's also available in my community tab here on YouTube. I have set it up so that it actually runs right the way through to the 21st of July. Sorry, not the 23rd, but it depends how long you take to read the outros at the end. So if you're the kind of person like me who likes to work at their own pace or doesn't want to be pushed into doing things in a particular order, this might help you get an idea of how you could break it up. If you prefer to work in a group, go follow Carrie Harling, because she's going to be doing a weekly read along. That's my book, and my book has the Plan Your Future version on the front, which I hate. I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about the it's a journal, not a planner thing, and I stuck Dymo tape on it, because in the book he actually says design the future, and in the audiobook he says design the future. And anytime anybody ever says bullet journal is a planner or talks about how it's to do with productivity, he actually says it's a mindfulness system disguised as productivity, so it's not really a planner. Anyway, more on that later. So my setup is super simple. I treated myself to an expanded moleskin because even though I've got really tiny writing, I find I go through books really fast. I'm only a week into this one. I'm already on page 30. So yeah, I go through books really fast. My one pen is a Bic ballpoint 4-colour, which I will explain how I'm using this at another date, because that's going to be part of the reflection and revision thing. here's how I am at the point where I have just set up July's calendar. Okay, so at the front I've got my post-it notes, which I've said this before, these are for other people, not for me. So these are for other people to write me notes, or me to give notes to other people. This is a book recommendation for somebody. I will give it to her when I see her, but I've pre-written out all the information and stuck it there, and all I've got to do is hand her the post-it note. I've got my calendar here, right at the front, full year. I've given up using individual tab calendars for the months because they don't work for me, so I've just got one calendar at the front. In this useless page, where the pages are stuck together, I've got my page flags, so that my page flags don't get dog-eared, because this was happening, and it bugs me, so this stops that happening. And in here, I've got measurements listed, and also my headers and my basic layout that I'm using, and all that sort of stuff. I have chopped the sections up. It looks a bit of a mess, but it's actually, there's a halfway point, there's the 2/3 points, and then this side is 5 squares all the way down. And then the same across here, the halfway point and what it is for 2/3. Here I've put my key. I will put my key properly into my book when I've finished working out exactly what I'm going to use. I am not using Ryder Carroll's key purely because the original key was basically what I was already using. I've been using a bullet point key for my task lists and my to-dos for a very, very long time, and I don't want to waste time trying to retrain a dog to do that particular trick. It's not necessary. I'm just using what I normally would use. I don't normally use an index, but I'm using one, and for the first time today I actually did use it to find a page, so maybe it will prove to be useful after all. I have a forward future log. I have yet to use this. I'm going to do something on future logs later when I figure out whether they're going to be of use to me. At the moment, I'm not seeing a use for it. Here's my June page, and my June page was only a week. So instead of putting this on 2 different pages, I just put my calendar for the last 10 days. I actually did it from Litha because it was a nice round number. And that is my calendar section, and then underneath I've got my astrology. For July, this is actually on 2 different pages. This section here was boxes that I split in 2 for tracking whether I'm doing reflection. Reflection is rapidly becoming the single most important thing for me, and my morning reflection is especially important. Nighttime, not quite so much, but definitely my morning one. I am also attempting to keep this completely free, and I don't fill it in until something happens on the day here. That's what it's supposed to be used for. I'm trying to do that. My task list for June, I'm actually putting most of my tasks in my monthly task list, not on my dailies. I will talk about that another time. I'm trying to keep these videos short. One thing I did add in was a monthly reflection, so not just going through and migrating, but prior to that, going through and doing a monthly reflection. I primarily did this for One Book July, and it's there. So how am I getting on? How do I feel about it? What's working? What isn't? And so on. I will talk about other things like these boxes and stuff like that in another video. Daily logs. I'm adding in regular journaling to my journal, to my daily logs. And what I'm doing is putting a time that I actually make the journal note or the journal entry, depending. I am also going to try and work in long form journaling, which is something that Ryder actually talked about in his article this week. So I'm going to look at that as a separate entity. I am using threading, and my titles, if it's an important title for a collection or something like that, then I box it. And if it's just a daily log, I don't. That makes it visually a little bit easier to see what's going on. And I am starting a new page every day. I'm not sticking to 1 page a day. If I use 1 page or 2 pages or 5 pages, that's fine. But if I only use a few lines, which you'll see on a later page, then I do start a new day. New page, new day. That's working for me. I'm adding in some photographs and things for my journaling, but I'm only adding them in after the day is finished, so that these were actually taken on the 5th, on the Wednesday. This is the day, the Tuesday. But I had this gap at the bottom of this page, so I thought I'd use it for my photos. Same with this. This was a note about how I'm getting on with the XP Moleskine Dot, because I plan to do a review on it when I'm further into it. So I've started writing notes about that in the spare space. So things that don't warrant a collection all on their own, but I need to keep a note of them somewhere. This is my One Book July notes and my first video notes. Something I'm doing, which you'll notice as you go through, as I show you my book, is that you'll see different coloured pens. That's where this comes in, and it comes in with my review and reflection stuff. Where I have stuff I need to put in my book temporarily, I'm using paper clips. So these are postage labels that I need to make sure they are delivered. Once they're delivered, I will log them in my accounts because they're expenses, and they'll get filed away with my paperwork. They don't need to stay in here. I found it useful to highlight things, but I'm using page flags to do it. The reason for that is that these videos I needed to do by the end of July. So all the way through June, I've had that highlighted by end of July. So every time I came to this page, by end of July was ingrained in my head. Now that it's in July, I'll need to refer to this page quite a lot. So I've moved the page flag across. It now just highlights July, and it sticks out the edge of my book so I can find it easily. This is my July astrology pages, and one of the things that I'm doing with my collections, which is not very clear in the book, but he does say it in quite a few of his videos, is that a collection always goes across 2 pages. Even if you only think you're going to use 1 page, you always do it across 2 pages. So this really only needed 1 page. So instead of just leaving this page blank, I added in some quotes that I thought went with this, and I will go back in and add other notes as well. There's always a way to use 2 pages, but I'd rather have 2 pages than only 1. And it means that when I'm flicking through the book, if I only see this side of the page and say, oh, that's astrology, then I don't automatically have to then check, oh, what's on this side of the page, because if this side of the page is astrology, so is this. This is where I'm reading the bullet journal method. These are my notes from the book so far, and I've just got my red page flag in there so I can find it easily. My purple marker in my book, I don't like bookmarks, I like my page flags, but my purple marker takes me to the page that I have most recently need to review. So I've reviewed it, I've looked at it, I've gone back, you can see it's got blue lines on it, so I must have reviewed it and revised it, but I feel like there's more to do, or there's stuff that still needs to be done, or there's stuff that I want to revisit. So that is the page, that is the first page in the book that's not complete, as it were. More daily logs. This is a page where I had a whole load of space because I really only had those few things written in. I didn't do any journaling, didn't have anything else. I was really busy on the Saturday. So I actually had an article that I wanted to make notes on, so I put it in there instead. Again, filling up a big space where I know I'm not going to use it for the daily log particularly. My yellow flag gives me this month, and I've been very rigid about my migration. All through the month, rather than getting all gung-ho and, oh, I've got a YouTube video idea, so I need to set up a YouTube video page, I didn't do that. I simply put my YouTube video ideas in here, in my daily logs. And when I started noticing that I had quite a few, and obviously they weren't ticked off because I haven't done them yet, I started thinking, maybe I need to put that together in a collection. I'll do that at the end of the month. I'm planning to do that perhaps weekly or perhaps bi-monthly, in order to not have loads and loads of pages set up in advance that are not going to be used effectively. I really want to make sure that I need a page. Now, once I decided that I actually did need a collection for a particular thing, instead of trying to go and set it up there and then, or it getting lost in my daily logs, I actually put it on my forward planning page. So it's on my July tasks here: set up a YouTube video collection, set up a studio vision board. And as you can see, I've already done that because I've already set up my month ready for tomorrow. So the first few things in July, I've got my calendar of events, I've got my task page, and then I've got my things to post, which I need to organise, and I'm going to need at least 2 pages for that. My studio vision board, which I'm going to add notes to, and probably more sketches and drawings. And my video ideas page, because I'm starting to write down what I plan to do for One Book July. Then I've got my second One Book July page. I had one back here, but it was full. So for this video, I came in and I put in July 1st, here's what I'm going to do. So a setup video of what I'm using, done. The Moleskine expanded, why? Lots of pages. The 4-colour Bic, why? I'll tell you about that when I do the reflect and revise video. Started 1 week early, why? Run up, getting ahead for One Book July for you guys. And also, I wanted to be able to try a monthly migration, and since I didn't already have any kind of pre-existing bullet journal setup, I just had a really long list of tasks that I was trying to avoid copying out again. I decided to have a run up at it so I could do a monthly migration and start from the beginning of a month with a migration, rather than just a month hitting the ground and running and figure out what I need as I go along. I did that with the week in June, and I'm really glad that I did. So that's it. That's my setup. I have nothing else in here. I am using various different things and techniques that I think are useful, such as threading and ticking off individual pages when they're finished and all that kind of stuff. And I will go into that in other videos. So I hope that's been of use to you. One thing that I am making sure I do, because I'm also trying out the bullet journal app, which I was dead against initially, but I'm now quite happy with, is I've been carrying my phone. Here it is. I've been carrying my phone here. I don't want to get to the point where I'm forgetting to take my bullet journal with me. My phone goes everywhere. It does not matter if I just leave the room to go and get a coffee, my phone goes with me. Now, my bullet journal goes with me too. But I can actively decide, do I need to take my bullet journal with me? Yeah, I'm just popping to the loo, just take my phone. And if I need to put anything on my phone, I've got the bullet journal app right here. So if I am in the loo and I have a really clever idea, I can simply pop it on here in the future log. And every day I'm going into this and swapping everything over from the app to my bullet journal. So far, so good. See you tomorrow.